All right. Today we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff. The
Yeah.
assassination of JFK.
Right.
It's one of those events that I think continues to fascinate and confuse people even decades later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you've sent over a bunch of sources on this, and there seems to be a lot more to uncover than just the basic facts.
Oh, yeah.
So what we're going to try to do today is actually sift through a firsthand account of that day in Dallas,
Okay.
pull out some of the less known details, and try to get a clearer picture of what went on.
Yeah, I think that's important because, you know, people tend to forget the context.
Yeah.
JFK wasn't just on a political tour.
Right.
He was facing a tough reelection. He needed Texas.
Yeah.
Plus, his policies on civil rights in Vietnam were generating a lot of heat.
Right.
This was more than just a meet and greet.
It sounds like there's a lot riding on this trip for him,
Absolutely.
both politically and personally.
Yeah, you can feel that tension in the source material.
Yeah.
And we know Jackie had recently suffered a terrible loss. JFK hoped this trip might help lift her spirits,
Yeah.
which, it just adds another layer of tragedy to the whole story.
Yeah. When you're reading through these accounts, there's this sense of impending doom.
Yeah,
Even with all the excitement of the crowds, it's almost surreal
it is.
knowing what's coming.
Yes. And what's interesting is the source material you shared reveals that the Secret Service
Oh, wow.
was deeply concerned about the motorcade route
Okay.
and the lack of agent protection on the vehicle.
Oh, really?
This wasn't just a hindsight observation. They knew the risks going in.
Which makes that quote from JFK about Texas being nut country all the more chilling.
Right.
He was aware of the potential for danger, yet he pressed on.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to his determination,
Yeah.
but also perhaps a sign of the political pressures he faced.
Yeah.
He needed to connect with voters, and that meant taking risks.
So let's talk about Lee Harvey Oswald for a second.
Okay.
I mean, we all know the basic story, ex-Marine communist leanings, defected to Russia.
Right.
But what's really intriguing in these sources is the depth of his pre-assassination activities.
It is, one of the sources actually details
Yeah.
Oswald's attempts to establish contact with the Cuban and Soviet embassies in Mexico City,
Wow.
just weeks before Dallas.
Oh, wow.
He even got into a scuffle with Cuban officials, which was reported to the FBI.
So he was already on the radar of intelligence agencies.
He was.
Then yet...
And yet he was able to secure a job at the Texas School Book Depository,
Right.
which had a clear view of the motorcade route.
Yeah, it begs the question, were there some critical missteps in surveillance? Or
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, it's like a slow motion train wreck watching these events unfold, knowing the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, we see Oswald arriving at work early that morning with this long package,
Yeah.
supposedly containing curtain rods.
Right.
We see him calmly eating lunch as the motorcade approaches.
And one of the things that I thought was really revealing in the firsthand account
Yeah.
is the description of Oswald's demeanor that morning. He seemed almost jovial joking with coworkers.
Really?
It paints a very different picture than the brooding loner often portrayed.
It's almost more unsettling, isn't it?
It is.
That kind of normalcy masking something so sinister.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the complexity of trying to understand
Yeah.
Oswald's motivations and mental state.
Speaking of unsettling, let's talk about Dealey Plaza
Okay.
and the assassination itself.
Yeah.
You shared an audio source that places us right in the driver's seat of the presidential limousine.
It's intense.
It's really intense.
You can hear the roar of the crowd,
Yeah.
the turning onto Elm Street,
Yeah.
and then the sudden bark,
Oh, wow.
the shouting, the chaos.
And the driver's internal conflict, right?
Yes.
Stick to the protocol or react to the unknown.
Exactly.
It's a decision that would be scrutinized for decades to come.
And rightfully so, according to this source, Agent Clint Hill,
Yeah.
who was riding on the running board,
Right.
later admitted to having a gut feeling that something wasn't right as they entered Dealey Plaza.
Really?
He even considered jumping onto the back of the limo,
Oh, wow.
but hesitated.
Talk about a what-if moment.
I know.
And then, of course, there's the Zapruder film, the only complete visual record of the assassination.
It's grainy, but it captures those crucial seconds
Yeah.
in agonizing detail.
And it's those details, those split-second moments
Yes,
that fuel endless debates.
they do.
I mean, we see the impact on Kennedy,
Yeah.
the reaction of Jackie.
It's a lot to process.
It's hard to watch.
And one of the things that I find fascinating is this whole grassy knoll controversy.
Right.
While the Warren Commission concluded that all the shots came from the book depository,
Right.
The Zapruder film actually shows Kennedy's head snapping violently backward,
Oh, really?
which some argue suggests a shot from the front.
Wow, it's amazing how one piece of footage can spark so much debate and analysis.
Yeah, it speaks to the power of visual evidence,
Mm-hmm.
but also to the limitations of our perception.
Yeah,
Even with footage, there's still room for interpretation.
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to fathom the chaos that must have ensued in the immediate aftermath.
Oh, absolutely.
The race to Parkland Hospital, the swearing in of LBJ on Air Force One with Jackie still in her bloodstained dress.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like something out of a movie.
It was a day of just unimaginable shock and grief,
Mm-hmm.
but also a day where, the machinery of government had to keep moving, no
Yeah.
matter how jarring the circumstances.
Right.
And LBJ, suddenly thrust into the presidency, faced this daunting task of leading a nation in mourning.
One source describes LBJ's first days in office as navigating a swamp full of cattle.
Wow.
What a powerful image to convey that sense of disarray.
It does. It really highlights the immense weight and responsibility that fell on his shoulders.
Right. And amidst the chaos, LBJ also saw an opportunity to push forward Kennedy's stalled agenda, particularly the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
It's fascinating how this tragedy, in a way, became a catalyst for social change.
It's a complex and sensitive aspect of this whole story.
Yeah.
LBJ was a shrewd politician,
Mm-hmm.
and he recognized that the nation's collective grief could be channeled
Yeah.
into support for a cause that Kennedy had championed.
Right.
He used the moment to his advantage,
Mm-hmm.
skillfully appealing to both compassion and a desire for unity.
You shared a source that details a tense breakfast meeting between LBJ and Senator Richard Russell,
Oh, yes.
a powerful Southern Democrat who vehemently opposed the Civil Rights Act.
That source is a treasure trove of insight
Really?
into LBJ's political maneuvering.
Ugh.
Russell was a formidable opponent,
Yeah.
a man LBJ had known and worked with for decades.
Right.
Yet LBJ was willing to risk that relationship,
Oh.
even alienate his Southern base.
To get this legislation passed.
Yeah.
The source quotes LBJ telling Russell, "Dick, you've got to get out of the ditch.
Wow,
I'm going to run over you if you don't."
that's pretty blunt.
It shows LBJ's determination, but also the deep divisions that existed at the time.
It's a glimpse into the raw reality of politics,
Yeah.
the hard bargaining and tough decisions that
Yeah.
often happen behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And LBJ was willing to play hardball, even with old friends.
And ultimately, he succeeded.
He did,
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a landmark achievement.
a testament to his political skill and the legacy of JFK.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to consider how the assassination impacted the trajectory of both men's legacies.
It is.
Kennedy became a martyr, his ideals forever linked to the tragedy, while LBJ, despite achieving this monumental victory, often lived in Kennedy's shadow.
It's true.
It makes you wonder about the ripple effects of such a pivotal event.
Yeah, it does.
And speaking of legacies, what about Bobby Kennedy?
Right.
He goes from grieving brother to senator to presidential hopeful, carrying that Kennedy magic with him.
There's another layer of complexity in this already intricate story.
Yeah.
Bobby's grief was palpable, but he channeled that energy
Yeah.
into political action,
Right.
becoming a symbol of hope and continuation for many paths.
But his relationship with LBJ was complicated, to say the least.
That's putting him out.
These sources paint a picture of mutual distrust and animosity.
Yeah.
Dewberry felt that LBJ was capitalizing on his brother's death, and LBJ saw Bobby as a potential rival.
Right.
Their dynamic was a constant source of tension during LBJ's presidency.
It was.
And then there's that crucial decision in '64. LBJ chooses not to make Bobby his VP.
That decision spoke volumes.
It did.
It fueled speculation that LBJ saw Bobby as a threat,
Right.
but it also positioned Bobby to potentially run for president himself.
It's like a chess match, each move calculated with the stakes incredibly high.
And it makes you think about the what-ifs that haunt history.
Yeah.
What if Bobby had been LBJ's running mate?
Right.
Would he have gone on to run for president himself in '68?
It's hard not to draw parallels between the brothers.
I know.
The charisma, the political ambition, and tragically, the violent ends to their lives.
The Kennedy brothers' stories are deeply intertwined with themes of hope, ambition, and ultimately loss.
Yeah.
They left an undeniable mark on American history, and their assassinations continue to fascinate and intrigue us,
Yeah.
perhaps because they represent a loss of innocence, a shattering of idealism.
It's striking how the assassination casts such a long shadow shaping not just the political landscape,
Oh, yeah.
but also the public's perception of truth and power.
Right.
You mentioned that the sources we've been looking at delve into the various conspiracy theories surrounding JFK's death.
It's impossible to talk about the JFK assassination without addressing those theories.
Right.
They become part of the cultural narrative.
Yeah.
A testament to the enduring mystery and the desire for answers that go beyond that official account.
The lone gunman theory versus, the idea of a larger conspiracy.
Right.
It's a debate that rages on even today.
It does. And it's not just about a lack of trust in authority, although that's certainly a factor.
Right.
The sources highlight how the Warren Commission, while comprehensive, left certain gaps and inconsistencies.
Okay.
That fueled those alternative explanations.
For example?
Well, one of the sources analyzes the magic bullet theory.
Right.
Which posits that a single bullet caused all of the wounds to both Kennedy and Governor Connally.
Okay.
The problem is the trajectory and the damage to the bullet itself don't quite add up. This discrepancy, along with other unanswered questions, create an opening for doubt and speculation.
It's like our brains are wired to look for patterns.
They are.
To try and make sense of the seemingly senseless.
Exactly. And when that official narrative feels incomplete, we naturally try to fill in the blanks.
Right.
That's why these conspiracy theories, despite often lacking concrete evidence, hold such a strong grip on the public imagination.
It makes you think about the nature of truth itself.
It does.
Is it absolute, or is it subjective, shaped by our own perspectives and biases?
That's a question worth pondering.
It is.
And perhaps in the case of the JFK assassination, the truth lies somewhere in the gray area.
Yeah.
A combination of verifiable facts and enduring mysteries.
Right.
That we may never fully unravel.
So stepping back from the theories and the speculation for a second.
Okay.
What does this all mean for us today?
Well,
why should we still care about an event that happened decades ago?
The JFK assassination is more than just a historical event.
Okay.
It's a cautionary tale about the fragility of power, the enduring impact of trauma, and the importance of critical thinking. It reminds us to question assumptions, to seek out multiple perspectives, and to be wary of simplistic answers to complex questions.
It also seems to say something about the way we process grief and loss on a national scale.
Yeah.
The assassination wasn't just a political event. It was a collective trauma.
It was.
That shook the nation's sense of security and innocence.
And that trauma, as we've seen throughout this deep dive, had a profound impact on the political landscape, on social movements, and on the cultural psyche. The ripples of that day in Dallas continue to be felt, shaping our understanding of the past and our anxieties about the future.
As we wrap up, I'm left with this thought.
Yeah.
Does the weight of a tragedy like this ever truly lift? Or does it simply shape what comes after, leaving an indelible mark on everything that follows?
That's a poignant question. And while we may never have definitive answers about the JFK assassination, perhaps the most important takeaway is the recognition that history is not just a collection of dates and facts. It's a living, breathing entity that shapes our present and informs our future. By grappling with these complex events, by engaging in thoughtful discussion and analysis, we honor the past and equip ourselves to navigate the uncertainties of the present.